Hey guys, so yesterday I heard something that says they were talking about getting the poison out. So whatever it is that bothers you inside, or the stories that you keep replaying in your mind, or the things that continue to bother you, to get it out. And so I started thinking of all of the things that do bother me, all of the mistakes that I've made, or the things that I'm ashamed of, the things that I have done that poison my insides. And I was like, oh my God, I would never say that. I would never tell anybody those things. And so, but the more I would say I would never tell anybody about that, the more I wanted to. And I wanted to. So now that was yesterday. So now here we are. It's today. I'm at home. I'm working. And I just paused everything that I'm doing to just record this video and let you know one of the things that bothers me, as far as I can remember. Because the beautiful thing about your brain is that your brain somehow blocks certain things from your life, certain traumas from your life, so that I guess it doesn't affect you, to kind of protect yourself from it. And that's what's happened to me. I think from like age 3 to age 10, 11, I don't really remember much. But I do know subconsciously that it was a cycle of that would always happen, but I just don't remember the details. I guess at the moment of when this was happening, something was just triggered in my brain to just not be present. But anyhow, so I wanted to speak my poison, and people are going to say, oh, some people are just like, you should get over it, or you should, stop replaying that in your mind, or you should let go of it. And I think that for many years, I've told myself that I have let go of it, and that I am okay, and I no longer have this inside of me, or it doesn't hurt me anymore. But it obviously, if you think about it, or if you speak about it, and this happens to you, then it obviously still is a poison inside of you. So I'm going to, even though I've talked about it with a few people, maybe put it out again and see if I can release it for once and for all, and just finally let it go. Right? Because feeling is healing. So growing up, I'm Colombian, so growing up, every weekend was a party. Every weekend, my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, it was always a party. Music, drinking, aguardiente, dancing, great times in the 80s and the 90s. Our parents were lit. Parties all the time. I'm 3 years old, and I remember we're having a party at my grandmother's house. I think it was somebody's birthday. And I couldn't find my parents. And my grandmother lived, I believe, like on the 3rd floor. So I went down the steps to the 1st floor of the building, because my family was up and down, like bringing up liquor and beer and whatever, just outside, inside. And I remember just skipping down the stairs and being almost at the 1st floor and being on the 3rd step before I get on the 1st floor and about to jump off. And then thinking the 3 steps is too much for me. I'm like 3, 4 years old. And that was too much for me. So I went down 1 and I went to the 2nd. I was on the 2nd step before the floor. And I went to jump. And when I went to jump, a family member, an uncle, he's not my blood uncle, but an uncle by marriage, caught me midair. He caught me. And I was like, hey, he caught me midair. And I remember seeing my cousin. He turned around and my cousin was coming up the stairs. And I looked at my cousin, and my uncle had me. He was carrying me. And while he was carrying me, he immediately put his fingers inside of me. And I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't know, I guess at that moment you just kind of freeze with fear. But I remember seeing my cousin coming up with beer, and I remember looking at him, but not being able to speak. And looking at him, telling him to grab me to help me find my mom. And he didn't. He didn't know what I was telling him with my eyes. I was screaming inside, but he couldn't hear me. And then when my uncle was done with doing whatever he was doing, he put me down. And I remember everybody was around. My family was around. My uncles, my aunts were around. And I had a dress, so nobody saw what he was doing. And he was just doing it in front of everybody. And this continued for many years. Every weekend that we had a party, for a long time. And then as I got older, I would just avoid going to the rooms where other kids were, or I would go to the rooms to tell all the kids, no, don't come up here. Go be by your parents. Go be in the living room. We're not playing over here. Or just go to walk, keep an eye on them, because now I didn't want my younger cousins to go through this. But because of that, he would always end up cornering me. And everybody else would go, because I would tell everybody go downstairs, and then I would get cornered again. And even as I got older, it's just like, I don't know what happens in your brain, or I don't know what happens in your body or in your throat that causes you to not be able to speak or to move. You just freeze. And to this moment, he's still around and he's still there. And I still say hi to him. I just do not bring my children around him. And as of recently, as in the last 2 or 3 years, I refuse to be in the same room with him, the same home, the same house with him. If he's gonna be there, I will not be there, period. And I have never left my children around him, never took my children around him. No, thank you, absolutely not. And I remember the last time that he tried, I was 17, and he pushed me against the wall, and he tried to kiss me. And it was the first time that I was able to. I had so much fear, and I was so afraid, and I was still frozen, and my feet felt so heavy, and I couldn't run. But I somehow managed to kick him in his balls and run. And I remember running down the stairs, and he wasn't chasing me, he wasn't behind me, but I remember the fear of having him behind me. And I think that's what women that have been abused, or girls that have been abused, that's what the problem is. The problem is that my power was taken away. I don't think it's so much, not to belittle the act of what was done to me, but I believe that whether it was domestic abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, any type of abuse, I think that where the trauma, at least for me, is that my power was taken away, that I had no control over that moment, that I couldn't defend myself, or that my body didn't react. So now I'm 31. My children are 6 and 11. For a long time, even till now, I am very paranoid. I talk to my children about everything. If they're not comfortable around people, you don't have to hug them, you don't have to kiss them, you don't have to say nothing. They think you're rude, that's very fine. My child does not want to say hi to you. Thank you. She could wave. They don't sit on nobody's lap. Nobody carries them. They change in their own privacy. They have a lot of respect for their own bodies and their own privacies, and that's just the way that I've trained them to be. And, you know, I just think that when I look at Penelope, she's 6, and it's just, when I look at my children, and I look at Penelope, and she's so beautiful and sweet and innocent, and when I look at Carlo, and he's 11, and he's so sweet and innocent, and I think that by those ages, I was already robbed of my innocence. I couldn't imagine if that happened to my children. So, along with what I wanted to say with getting out this poisoning that's inside of me, this poison that's inside of me, I also wanted to send out some awareness as far as, you know, now we're the ones having parties. We're the ones with friends. We're the ones that have friends and family over, our cousins. We're now the cousins. We're now the uncles and the aunts, drinking and having parties and things like that. And just be vigilant about your children. Watch over them. I don't care if you're my best friend, if you're my sister, if you're my brother, if you're my boyfriend, if you're my husband. I don't care. Always watch your children, because you see faces, but you don't see hearts. You see people, and you can love people, but you truly never know the secret person of somebody's heart. And so, and this person that did this to me, to an extent, I believe is a beautiful person, you know, is a humanitarian, loves animals, an artist, a beautiful person in other aspects, but is a very sick person. But I'm a realist, and I can realize, and I can separate things from things, and to me he's a monster, but I can identify that I know why other family members love this person. And I can understand that. So again, just putting out the awareness that you can love your cousin, your uncle, your man, your husband, your sister, your brother. Doesn't matter if it's a boy, a girl, a woman, a man, old, young, 10-year-old, old, 70-year-old woman, man. It does not matter. You will never know the secret person of somebody's heart. So always please watch over your children. Sorry, that was my cat. She had a little fit. So, just sharing this with you guys to cut a moment out of my day, and I hope that it works not only for me, hopefully taking out this poison works for me, but that it encourages others to speak their truth and to let it go. Because one thing that I have learned is that the people that harm us are free. They're not in pain because they harmed us or because they harmed me. But I live in a cage, in their cage, for not forgiving and forgetting. So I would like to release myself from this cage once and for all. Bye, guys.